All right, this is that moment of truth. This is that moment of truth where we're did you guys hear that? You probably couldn't hear it, but there was a big old anyway, there was a big old truck that just drove by as we're waiting. There we go. YouTube's up. Rockfin, where you at? Up, Rockfin too. It was pretty much a tie. It was pretty much a tie today. Again, not a competition, but I want to say that it was pretty much a tie. And then, of course, the Periscope is always first. The Periscope is always first. Anyway, what's up, everybody? Good afternoon to all my East Coasters. Good morning to all my West Coast. Wait, no, it's afternoon. I'm so used to people listening to the podcast later. They're like, we don't give a shit. What do you? It's all kinds of different times where we're at, Ron. Get on with it. But anyway, it's actually afternoon on the West Coast too. We're doing a different time today because my guest wanted to do a different time because of his work schedule. So we switched the time just for today. We'll be back to our regular scheduled time tomorrow, which is 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. But today we're coming at you a little later, and I kind of like it. I feel like I've accomplished so much today. I'm like, wow, I had a super productive morning. And it's like, well, that's because it's shorter or longer, Ron. You had a longer time because the show is. You get the idea. All right. Special thanks to the people who make this show possible. Happy Monday, by the way. And special thanks to Indie Left. Indie Left is the only place to get the content from all the streamers and writers you know and love. They have a platform that they update twice a day to find out everything they got going on and to subscribe to their Discord. They're over on the Discord. Check them out at independentleft.media. That's independentleft.media. And I want to tell you about an exciting event that's happening on May 22nd. So that's coming up. The U.S. Solutions Summit. This is the first of its kind. You can check it out at ussolutionssummit.com. That's just ussolutionssummit.com. It's a first of its kind experience put on by KRTD Media. And it's going to be live on the KRTD Media YouTube and all social media channels. Again, that's KRTD Media on May 22nd, 2021, beginning at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. I am going to be part of that. There's going to be a lot of different panelists on it. Graham Elwood is going to be there. Myself, I'm going to be there. Convo Couch is going to be there. Who else? Shahid Buttar, Justin Jackson, Hardlens Media. Awesome lineup. It's going to be a lot of fun. And again, that's on May 22nd. To learn more about it, go to ussolutionssummit.com. All right. Without further ado, my guest today, y'all know I love having a Music Monday guest when I can. And this is one of my favorite ones to have. This guy's been on the show before. He is a spoken word artist, a musician, a poet, and I freaking love his stuff. Please welcome back to the show, Mr. Jesse Jett. What's up, buddy?
How you doing, man?
Good to see you again, dude.
Oh, good
And
to be here. I'm excited.
I'm glad the new stuff is getting so much traction. It makes me happy.
Me too. And I mean, you're so much to thank for that because you were one of the first and obviously biggest exposures I had early on, and feedback was great. And from there, I mean, I've gotten to do a few different interviews. Facts on the Ground has had me on several times. It's kind of become just like my honing ground for new material. And it's funny when I performed with you, I did a spoken word piece that got turned into a song, but I realized how much I loved doing something as spoken word. And especially in an interview like this, it just translates so much better. And from there, I've kind of started doing more and more of that to where it went like, okay, my next project's going to be acoustic. And now the next project's spoken word. It's just strictly a spoken word album. So again, thank you for that, because you having me on that first time really kind of got the ball rolling and helped kind of shape this new direction. So it's pretty awesome.
I'm thrilled to hear it, man. I mean, spoken word is one of those things. When it's good, it's amazing and life-changing. And when it's bad, holy shit, you're looking for the exit sign. You are just, it's just like...
Yep. And that's what makes it daunting for people too, And I mean, I've had a few select places before where I got to read poetry, political or otherwise, but the political pieces were nowhere near this pointed. And now that I have people that are receptive to that specific niche that I'm writing in, it's so much more comfortable. It doesn't feel like you're trying to kind of foist your poetry on people that are indifferent to poetry. It's like, here's something I wrote about what we've all been talking about. And it's so nice to get to have that common ground already before I'm trying to share spoken word stuff,
Totally. Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's
I hear
intimidating
you.
still, no matter what. You're kind of just like, okay, here I go, sit down for my 1100 word poem. Here we go. Strap
Buckle in,
in.
folks. So I got a couple headlines for you, and then you're gonna perform for us later. So this is
I
basically,
am.
I love Music Monday guests, and I love having musicians on because it's almost like I do my heavy lifting part with the Get Your News On part, and then they kind of take it over and just make my life
Right.
so easy because they just perform these beautiful songs or spoken word pieces, and I get to just freaking enjoy it, man. So, but
Awesome.
I
Well, I'm
got a
happy to
couple
do it, man.
headlines. I got some
Yeah, let's do
headlines
it.
for you first, buddy. So the title of today's stream was, are we getting closer to a general strike? And I'd like to think that
Ooh.
the answer to this question is hell yes. That's what
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping. So here's a couple
Mm-hmm.
things going on in the news. McDonald's workers, this is from Vice. McDonald's workers will strike for $15 an hour in 15 cities. So
Nice.
striking cashiers and cooks say there's an easy solution to McDonald's labor shortage, a $15 an hour minimum wage. McDonald's cashiers and cooks in 15 U.S. cities will strike on May 19th, a day before the fast food behemoth's annual shareholder meeting.
Oh, that's beautiful. I didn't know that
Nice
part.
pick of a date.
That's awesome.
And they're demanding $15 an hour amid a national labor shortage in the fast food industry. Now,
I wonder why.
you see these things like all these memes where there's all these signs saying people aren't coming to work, we're short staffed, we have to close. And I'm sure not all of them are real. Like, I'm sure some of them
Yeah.
aren't,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm really hoping most, if not all of them are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that the intention behind a lot of those postings originally have backfired on a lot of the people posting them because I think the intention was people don't want to work, but what the actual effect has been is stuff like this. People saying, no, we're demanding better conditions and we're going on strike because guess what? You're scared without us because we don't need you need us. Your job is not a freaking charity. And that's the biggest lesson the United States needs to learn. Your job is not a charity case. They freaking need you. So, so let's see what else is going on here. So they're striking. And in recent months, McDonald's stores, as according to the article, they've become desperate for employees, offering workers bonuses and incentives to sign up for a job. How about just pay living frickin' wages? There's such an easy solution to this. One store in Fayetteville, North Carolina, is offering a $500 sign-on bonus, according to a poster viewed by Motherboard. An owner of 60 McDonald's franchises in Florida is paying job applicants $50 just to show up for an interview. And one recent,
what's funny about that is that if you try to like grift that system and show up for the interview and just get your $50, knowing you're not going to take that job, but you're on unemployment, then they get to say, hey, this person applied for a job and refused it, and there go your benefits because you tried out work.
Oh yeah, they'll find a way to make it work for them. But gee, I mean, a total, instead of giving someone $50 to do an interview, just offer them something that's going to make them want to come to work. Offer them living, which I mean, and we all know that even $15 an hour isn't a living wage anymore. I mean, it's basically
anyone
symbolic.
making that or around that will tell you. I mean, I don't make much more than that, and it's not like I'm saving a ton of money. It's not like you don't get to dread the one big expense that wipes out whatever little savings you've got, and that's where so many people are. If they're lucky enough to have savings at all, they're that one medical emergency or surprise job loss away from having to blow through it.
So do you think that this is going, I mean, all these signs that you're seeing on a daily basis from all these places that are saying workers, and now it's like going the other way where it's like these companies are saying, oh, we're understaffed right now. And usually in the comments underneath, be it Instagram, Twitter, whatever, people are like, well, what are you paying your employees? Are you treating your employees right? Because guess what? People want to work. It's not like people don't want to work. People are just tired of being exploited, and they're realizing that they're needed.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you think we're getting closer?
I mean, we have to. If we're not at this point, we're never going to be, you know. And even if some of those are fake, are just made for the picture and the post, it still puts it in people's heads. And
Right.
in this case, I don't mind if it ends up being fake, because it still has the purpose is being served. You know, that people don't, like you said, they don't just do it because they don't want to come in and work and they want to just lounge around. Like, people need to be able to survive, pay rent. In this case, pay back rent, you know, cover their bills, and still have enough to not be in fear of just all of a sudden being destitute like that, you know. And again, it doesn't take that much more to make the difference between a livable wage and poverty wages. And all those companies get, I mean, McDonald's CEO tripled his salary in the last several years, and they're
Yes,
posting,
and
you know,
just to
minimum wage
tack
has
on to that,
time.
well, and just to tack on what you just said, he's tripled his salary, and also he's already making about 475 times that of the average worker.
Yep.
475. I mean,
Exactly.
look, I'm not trying to call for some. Well, I mean, I would like it in a perfect world, but I understand that the CEO is going to make more than the worker, and that will probably not change in my lifetime. And okay, I can live with that. But 475
Hmm.
times. Like that, no one could have ever even seen that coming. I mean, these people
Yeah.
who quote, they quote Adam Smith or these other philosophers, like making a case for their um, rugged neoliberal wet dream, and it's like, no, he
Hmm.
wasn't culling for this. No one
Yeah.
could have seen. I mean, this is like taken to the extreme of the extreme of the extreme.
Yeah.
475 times
Hmm.
to one. Billionaires are a thing like that. That should just
Yeah.
be full stop on a daily basis. Billionaires happen.
Exactly.
They shouldn't
Yep.
happen. Like it should
Yeah.
never happen. Nobody needs that much. Nobody.
Exactly.
And but here's the thing. I want to shift this a little bit because I know you might be thinking, Ron, you just made the moral case for it that hey, this is the richest country in the world. Nobody who works an honest job for 40 hours a week shouldn't be making a living wage. It should just be something that happens.
Hmm.
And nobody should live in poverty. Not one
Hmm.
single person. We should
Yep.
have a social safety net so that that never happens. There's no excuse for it in the
Exactly.
richest country in the world. There just
Yep.
isn't. But maybe you're thinking, but Ron, this is the United States. We're not a country. We're a capitalistic death cult. You have to make the argument. So where's the economic argument? Well, guess what? The economic argument is here too. Check this out from Newsweek. This is a real headline, folks. Ready for this? Denny's shareholders revolt after top exec concedes $15 an hour minimum wage won't hurt business. Now, Jesse, I got to ask you something. I feel like this headline is a little bit wonky and it's not clear what they're actually saying based on this headline. And I don't know why that is.
Yeah.
This article originally appeared at the Daily Poster. So I'm not suggesting anything like malicious or anything, but this headline is a little odd. Would you agree with
Hmm.
that?
Yeah.
What do
Oh, for
you
sure.
think? What do you think's going on just based on this headline alone?
I mean, I think we're not too far away from seeing a follow-up headline to the tune of like, top Denny's exec disappears in mysterious circumstances.
Well, when I first read it, it's not clear where it's like, are they saying that the shareholders are mad that the top exec is saying that $15 an hour minimum wage won't hurt business? But
Yeah.
here's what's actually going on though. So listen to this. It's actually the headline is a bit wonky. Here's what's really going on. Citing a Newsweek report, Denny's shareholders are demanding that the restaurant chain end its membership in the National Restaurant Association, halt all lobbying efforts against legislations to eliminate a sub-minimum wage for tipped workers, and start paying its workers at least a full minimum wage.
Huh.
The shareholders are actually calling for living wages. Why?
Well, yeah,
Were
that's
the
not
shareholders
what the headline gave me at all. That's the
right?
polar
No,
opposite
that's
of
what I'm
the headline
saying.
gave
The
me.
headline is totally,
Mhm.
and that's why I was hoping that you hadn't seen this yet, because
No, I
yeah,
hadn't.
the headline is very wonky compared to what's actually in this article and what's actually going on.
Mhm.
The shareholders are calling for living wages. Why? Were all the shareholders visited by three spirits the other night?
Yeah, right.
Not to my knowledge. Maybe that happened. Maybe they had some kind of acid dream. I don't know. But here's what really happened. In a letter sent to Denny's CEO, John Miller, shareholders wrote that the association's lobbying campaign against legislation to end sub minimum wage for tip workers runs contrary to the interest of the company's investors, citing reporting in Newsweek that gradual increases in the minimum wage have not hurt the company. On an earnings call in February, Denny's chief financial officer told investors that the California law raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour by 2023 has actually been good for the diner chain's business, as they've increased their minimum wage kind of in a tempered pace over the time frame. California has outperformed the system. This is Denny's chief financial officer saying this. Over that time frame, they had 6 consecutive years of positive guest traffic, not just positive sales, but positive guest traffic as the minimum wage was going up. It's almost like when you treat people with dignity and give them a living wage, production goes up, workplace productivity goes up, which means you get more customers. Oh, and guess what? If everyone's making a living wage, you're also going to get more customers because people have more disposable income. This is not complicated. This is really not complicated. And here, even the shareholders are calling for it.
I know, that's unreal. That's
right. And this headline, they should really reconsider tweaking this headline because the headline is very misleading. But what the headline's actually saying, the shareholders are saying, stop fighting against the minimum wage increase and get behind it because it's better for business. They're not doing this because they're good people necessarily. I mean, I don't know if they're good people. I have no idea what the shareholders of Denny's are like.
The bottom line actually improves.
But they're caring about the bottom line. That's where they're coming from. This isn't saying, hey, people deserve dignity. They're just saying, hey, it's better for our bottom line. So whether you make the moral argument or the economic argument, the result is the same. Raise freaking wages and give people a living wage. You're still going to be rich and everybody's going to win. Literally everybody. The workers, the customers, future customers, everybody wins. And your CEOs, they're still going to be rich. They're still, maybe they're not going to quite be 475 times to 1. Maybe it won't quite be that high. Call me a radical. I mean, it's unbelievable. We're asking for the bare minimum.
That's the thing.
The bare minimum. And we should be asking for more. I mean, we should be demanding. I think people should be demanding at least, $23 an hour.
Yeah.
But
we should start calling it bare minimum wage.
Bare minimum wage. Totally. I'm for it. Like bare minimum wage, because that's really what it is. And even the shareholders are saying raise the freaking wages.
Wow.
I mean, it's going to get to the point where, like, I think what's going to happen, there's going to be like a zombie Adam Smith who's going to just somehow rise from the dead and walk amidst the earth. And he's going to be like, you guys totally misinterpreted what I was saying. This like goofy capitalistic wet dream you have going on sucks. This is not what I called for at all. You got to gut this thing. It's total bullshit. Or the ghost of Ayn Rand is going to show up and even I think this is nuts. And by the way, some of my fans, y'all are fucking loony. Even I think this is crazy. I don't know if she'd actually say that or not, but.
Oh, I'm waiting for that clip to get taken out of context and weaponized against you by someone. Wait for it. In the next few hours, someone's going to
How is someone going to weaponize?
To some of my fans.
They'll just take out that part. Okay. I thought you meant the entire clip itself. Like they would be like, look at Ron. He's calling for zombie Adam Smith and zombie Ayn Rand. Probably.
Oh, man, that was good.
Oh, buddy. But so, man, are you a general strike stan? Because I am. I make no apology.
God, yeah.
I think whenever I see these memes of just people just don't want to work, I'm like, yes,
Mhm.
yes, keep it up. And whenever I see we're closed today because our people are just overworked and we're short staffed. Well, what are you paying? What's going on? Why is that happening? And I'm sure in some cases, I'm sure, at least I want to believe this, that there are small business owners across this country who actually are, doing the right thing. And they are just really struggling because they don't have the sales that they need to have because of the pandemic.
Sure.
And everybody's getting a living wage and they're just doing the best they can. So I'm certainly not including those people. I'm certainly not. And I'm sure that they're out there, like I don't know. But for everybody else, for all the Targets of the world and the McDonald's of the world and everybody else, ante up. It's time to pay living wages because guess what? We don't need you. What if they took it a step further and they just like, we're freaking open and guess how much your food costs?
Well, that's what I love.
Nada.
I wish I could remember because I read the article yesterday, but there was a city in Japan where some bus drivers.
Yes.
And
that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah. And they were just like, we're just not going to charge the fare, but we'll still deliver people. We'll still, take you on your trip. So, people don't miss out on the service they need, but the bus company just isn't making money. I'm like, that's beautiful. That's how to strike. That's brilliant.
I read stories like that, and dude, it is like, I get
it's possible. It's absolutely
it really does up my libido a little bit, dude. I'm not gonna lie. Like I get kind of horny. I get kind of like I go up to my wife and I'm just like, tonight, baby, capitalism's crumbling. Billionaires tubes.
Ron, you've got this intense look in your eyes. Yeah, the bus drivers are striking.
The bus drivers are striking. The bus drivers. Billionaires' tears are my lube. Let's do this, baby. The bus drivers are striking. So I mean, yeah, this is like we're getting close.
That's the biggest takeaway. We're less than 30 minutes in so far. The biggest takeaway is nothing is a stronger aphrodisiac than general strike.
It's the only way.
Peak erotica.
Yeah. That's how we got to brand it. General strike, peak erotica.
This isn't your dad's erotica.
This is general strike erotica. Strike erotica, if you will.
Ooh. Okay. I think we're onto something.
Strike erotica. That's what this show is, actually. I could rename this show Strike erotica.
Strike porn just sounds too, I don't know, aggressive.
Some people are saying they can't hear you. Can anyone not hear Jesse? I can hear you just fine.
Day bow bow.
Someone's saying they
play day bow bow. That'd be fun.
Here, talk. Just keep talking.
Here we are. I'm talking. Ron hears me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, no one in the chat's responding. I'm being punk.
It's the feds.
Yeah, right?
Just hear
so one person's saying it's low and they can't hear you.
Okay.
And now other people are saying sound is fine.
Okay, how about now?
Can you turn your mic up a little bit just to...
I did. How about now?
I hear you just fine. So some people are saying it's low, but they can hear you. Other people are saying it's just fine. Okay. Yeah, I think it's better now.
We have to do a poll here. Sorry.
No, they're saying it is a little low. Can you turn it up a little more?
Yeah, sure can.
Turn it up to 11, Jesse. You're a musician.
Oh, Jesus.
Turn that MV. Are you still using the MV7?
MV5. Yeah, I sure am. Okay. How about now?
Yeah, you're definitely good now. You got to be good
okay,
now.
Good.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, and you know what? It's sustained a couple falls at this point. It is not as flawless as it was in terms of like staying plugged in, but so far it's working for me. So
I got mine via your advice, and I'm gonna try to make some recordings, man. I don't have I'm not as savvy as you, nor am I as talented of a musician as you, or anywhere close, and so I don't know. I don't know. I should probably get some of my friends to come over and help me. But I don't know. I feel weird asking for that.
Well,
I mean, what I mean?
I use GarageBand exclusively. So
See, I'm an Audacity guy.
Okay.
I'm an Audacity guy.
I just love that word.
Audacity?
Yeah.
You have the audacity to load your shitty music in Audacity, Ron Placone. What the fuck are you doing?
But yeah, I mean, especially for the new thing right now, it's nice because it's just going to be spoken word. So I'm recording just a vocal track and then on to the next thing, which I haven't started recording any of it yet. That's where I'm at the dragging my feet, needing to get recording phase.
So I got one more story for you, and then you're going to, and then we're going to turn it over to some music.
Okay,
but
nice.
I got to share this with you. So I know that you probably know this about the show, Jesse, and I know that all you who listen and watch this show, you're at least aware of this. Net neutrality, municipal broadband, big part of the mission of this show. We talk about net neutrality a lot. Which what is net neutrality? Net neutrality is that policy that keeps the internet free and open, that makes it a law that the internet has to run like flowing water, basically, and you can't discriminate loading different websites at different speeds based on a content provider's ability to pay. You can't create designated fast lanes and slow lanes for users. You can't do anything like that. You can't do data ratings or anything like that. We've had net neutrality since the advent of the internet. We've always had assumed net neutrality laws. In 2014, Verizon challenged that because they knew that as a service provider, they could make more money without net neutrality. The court ruled on the side of Verizon, but they said if you designate the internet a Title II classification, which means it's a utility, which guess what? Look around you. Think about your life during the pandemic. News for you. The internet's a freaking utility in your life.
Yep.
And if you designate it as such, then net neutrality can be a law on the books. We got it as a law on the books in 2015, and then it was repealed by the Trump administration. Now, why was it repealed? Well, it was repealed because they had a big cable lobbyist in charge of the FCC in Ajit Pai. The last guy was a cable lobbyist too, but not quite as blunt of one.
Funny how that happens.
Yeah, isn't it interesting how that happens? But Ajit Pai, his big top mission was repealing net neutrality. They did it despite 83% of the American public favors net neutrality. The other 70% either works for a big cable company or doesn't understand what net neutrality actually is. And here's what happened. They had a bunch of comments around that time that dropped all at once, all of a sudden. And they were all these comments, and some of them were kind of a little wonky, where it's like, was this actually a human or a robot that did this? Mm-hmm. And they were all in favor of repealing net neutrality. They were all anti-net neutrality. And at the time, every digital rights organization in the freaking country was going, this is weird, and I don't know if this is legit. Well, guess what? Last week, every digital rights activist in the country was validated, because here's what an investigation from the New York State Attorney General revealed. Ready for this? After a multi-year investigation, we found that the nation's... I should probably maybe not have my messages up there. After a multi-year investigation, we found the nation's largest broadband companies funded a secret campaign to influence the FCC's repeal of net neutrality rules, resulting in millions of fake public comments impersonating Americans. These illegal schemes are unacceptable. Here's what happened. We're going to keep reading this thread here. The broadband industry hired marketing companies that co-opted and created identities and fired nearly 18 million fake comments with the FCC and sent over 500,000 fake letters to Congress in support of the repeal of net neutrality. This practice was also used to influence other policies. Today, we stopped 3 of these marketing companies from continuing their illegal behavior and recommended reforms to stop this type of fraud in the future. We will continue to shine a light on abuses and disinformation that drown out the voices of American people. Wow. They were fake, folks. We suspected it. Mm-hmm. We were validated. They were fake. They were 18 million fake comments calling for the repeal of net neutrality. And by the way, here's a couple fun facts about net neutrality, because I tweeted this and I got a couple of the common responses about, oh no, net neutrality is a bad thing. Here's dismounting a few of those. Net neutrality gives the government control of the internet. No, it doesn't. It designates the internet a public utility, and it sets forth a law that internet service providers like Comcast, AT&T, or whatever big cable company you have to get your internet from, or if you're lucky, you're getting your internet from the city with municipal broadband. It just dictates the laws that they need to follow. It has nothing to do with the government controlling content on the internet. Net neutrality has nothing to do with that whatsoever. Net neutrality, repealing it didn't make a difference. Tell that to firefighters in California who had their data throttled while they were trying to fight a fire by Verizon. And because we lived in a post-net neutrality world at the time, they couldn't do anything about it. So yes, we actually have seen the effects of a post-net neutrality world. Now, you know why we haven't seen the big effects of a post-net neutrality world? Because we've been fighting it out in the courts since it was repealed, thanks to digital rights organizations like Fight for the Future, like Free Press, like Media Justice. They've been fighting at the front lines. And because states have passed their own net neutrality laws, like my state in California, we have our own net neutrality law that was passed. So these big cable companies can't unroll anti-net neutrality packages because there's a lot of big states where they have to still follow net neutrality laws. That's why you haven't seen the big effects of a post-net neutrality world yet. All those things that we said could happen could still potentially happen. They haven't yet because we've been fighting against it. The other big thing about net neutrality, well, we only had it for those couple years and nothing made a difference. No, we've had net neutrality since the advent of the internet. We just got it officially on the books in 2015. It was not invented by Barack Obama. Quite the opposite, actually. It was on the books it was assumed for a long, long time. We have been screaming for years to get it on the books. Since 2004, we have been screaming to get net neutrality on the books. We were ignored. We were told that it wasn't important. Then finally, we got it on the books because guess what? There's that popular phrase, fuck around, find out. We said, don't fuck around. And then in 2014, we found out. And then we got it on the books. I
remember who it was, and I'll have to find it and retweet it later. But yesterday she said, it's interesting that fuck around and find out turned into fuck around and find out how fast I'll vote for Joe Biden.
Nice. Yeah, that's fun. So there you have it, folks.
That shows too just how easy it is to manufacture consent. If those are real comments people are making, that's absolutely manufactured consent against the idea of net neutrality. And if it's more fake shit, it's just more sock accounts, more of those, coming out of the woodwork, which, I mean, you see it with Amazon too. God, how many, satisfied, happy, healthy Amazon worker kind of screen names did you see popping up defending Amazon recently? It's amazing the effort put into creating fake identities,
manufacturing consent. Really, consent. Like literally, in this sense, in this way, it's like the literal manufacturing of consent, where it's like, well, the consent is actually legit manufactured because they're not even real people. They're not even real people. So there you have it. All those net neutrality comments, they were fake after all. A lot of people told you so. I can't take credit for it. I was just one of the people who said, yeah, this smells funny. This smells really funky. And guess what? It was. Yay. All right. So, Jesse, let's talk about your music, man. How's the new album doing?
It's been great, man. And again, doing more interviews recently, right after Inauguration Gift came out, I started looking more at like, okay, what of these can I try to do acoustic? And breaking those songs down and simplifying them just made me enjoy, like, the more bare bones it is, the easier it is to convey that message and feel like I'm getting that across. Which, like I said, led to at first me thinking, okay, the next album is going to be strictly acoustic. And as I wrote, I hit this writing period that, I mean, every day I was writing at least one piece, and they were lengthy. And next thing you know, it's like I'm pouring out stuff that would be way too long to turn into a song. If I did, it would be like some 17-minute Mars Volta song. I would have to make some giant, 8 different movements, like Close to the Edge by Yes or something. It just more than I have time to do. And I hate to say that, but I'm writing so much that it felt like, okay, what's the quickest, most concise way to get these together and presented? And especially doing something like this. I love getting to play and do a piece, but it's so much fun too to do spoken word. Um, and and so that's what I started writing. You all of it actually at work. I think there might be one piece on this next album that I wrote at home, but usually throughout the day I'll be driving around on the forklift and kind of writing stuff in my head. And when I have a moment, type what I can in my phone, and then just kind of accumulate. And then on my lunch break, I go, God, I cleared the 1,000 word mark. It's like next, it's like I need to stop and go on to the next piece. So I did just have this crazy burst of writing recently that all of a sudden turned into 15 spoken word pieces for this next album.
So you drive a forklift?
Yeah, for the most part throughout the day. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the cool thing. I mean, I think we kind of had this conversation before, so you can like shut me up if
Mhm.
you're Ron. We've done this before. Please stop. But I used to work in shipping and receiving at one point in my life, and
Okay.
it was the only day job I ever enjoyed. One of the
Hmm.
only ones. I
Hmm.
mean, I guess I enjoyed teaching. I don't know if that. I guess that counts, right? I enjoyed teaching when I taught community college, and I enjoyed shipping and receiving.
Hmm.
And and then I actually, when I was in high school, I worked at a funeral home. Really enjoyed that. That was a really cool job.
Yeah.
Um, and then I've had a ton of day jobs I've absolutely hated. I mean, the bad
Hmm.
outweighs the good by a lot. But
Yeah.
those are some of the ones I actually genuinely enjoyed. And shipping and receiving in particular, one, I worked with cool people, which makes all the difference. But
Same. Absolutely.
also it was cool because it's like you were kind of, it's the type of work where it's like, you know what needs done, you just do
Hmm.
it. So if you're a creative person, you still have that mental bandwidth.
Exactly.
So I would
Exactly.
just like,
Yep.
and especially, when I write jokes, I like to just record them. I like to just hear
Yeah.
them, to like
Yep.
hear where the beats are. So
Yeah.
what I would do, I mean, dude, if I was just stocking shelves at a warehouse, just unloading
Hmm.
stuff, if no one else was around, I would just turn on my phone. I would just
Oh yeah.
record into my
Absolutely.
phone. No one, I mean,
Yep.
I'm not saying things that I want people to overhear because they're
Yeah.
like
Right.
jokes that might not be funny yet, or just sort of inappropriate in the wrong
Yep.
context where
Hmm.
yeah, I walked by and Ron was rambling about his cat and
Yeah.
his,
Right.
whatever.
No, that's
So,
totally me too.
yeah, but I would just do it, and if someone was, I would just go to the bathroom or something, and in the stall, just record
Hmm.
something real quick, or
Yeah.
whatever it may be.
And I'm
And
lucky enough. There's a lot of floor noise where I'm at. There's an awful lot of machinery operating,
mhm,
and we all have your protection in. So I can be off the. A lot of times the machine that I operate is 2 stories up, so I have a pretty long flight of stairs to get up to. So even if it's quiet, I can be up there like shouting into my phone, and no one can hear me, but they can just see and usually know like, oh, Jesse must be writing something because I'm up there with my phone like just like in
wow,
silent rage. But but that's been the nice thing. There's sometimes I come home and I think I recorded something legibly, and all I hear is machinery and grinding and clanging, and I can hear my voice a little bit. I'm like, what the hell am I saying on this? So I had to start typing it out because sometimes the recordings are just too much.
sure. Well, you got to be careful too, man, because as a musician, it's like your ears are already susceptible.
Yeah.
So you
Yep.
got to be. I
Well, and
mean, if you're
actually,
around loud
to
noise,
share, I lost an awful lot of hearing right after Thanksgiving. Uh, and I went to the doctor and they were 100% sure what it was. They were like, there are a few different things it could be, and they could be a few months before it clears up. And I mean, I could barely hear someone right next to me. So as like a dad, it was like I wasn't 100% comfortable. Like I even being in the other room from my son, because like if something happened and he got hurt, I couldn't hear.
oh
And
geez,
it was a couple weeks before it ended up coming back. And when it did, I just cried all over myself. I was so happy because you can't help but fear for the worst, because you're like,
sure.
I could not work on music. I tried my best, but it was so hard to hear little things. In fact, the most success I had, weirdly enough, was I took an earbud and put it in my mouth, and the vibration like did better going just directly into my skull than trying to go through my ears. But I also couldn't record a song like that. So
Oh,
it was a weird few weeks. And I'm really really thankful that whatever it was cleared up, because then my hearing was back. But
Be careful,
So
man. I
yeah,
mean, that's.
it was, and again, I
Did
mean,
you
we're
see?
hearing protection at work, but there's still an awful lot of, and we have yearly hearing tests they schedule for us, and
Well, that's
mine's
good.
okay, but it's scary. It's one of those things. As a musician, you're just like, oh God, did everything just come to a halt?
Mm. Dude, well, did you see that movie about the drummer?
I haven't yet. I've been wanting to watch that.
Oh, you gotta
Yeah,
watch it. It's a really good film. It's a
yeah,
really good
I heard
movie.
brilliant things about it.
And yeah, and especially as a musician, like you'll really
Yeah.
relate. I mean, it's about this duo and they're on tour and
Hmm.
the drummer loses his hearing and they're
Yeah.
also a couple and it's a good movie and but that movie, I mean, that it freaked me out a little bit
Yeah.
and
Oh, I bet.
I don't want to give anything away because you got to see it, but
Hmm.
it freaked me out a fair amount as far as like,
Yeah.
oh wow, and it was just a brilliant film.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to do a piece for us?
I'd love to, yeah. If you don't mind, I was planning two songs and a couple spoken word pieces.
That sounds
Um,
great, man. Floor is
awesome.
yours.
Cool. So yeah, the spoken word stuff, I started writing a little bit. I mean, still topical, still political, but kind of going a little bit dystopian corporate future, kind of seeing how Black Mirror I could get things. And what's crazy is no matter how far down that rabbit hole I went, none of it felt like it wasn't plausible in the short
Mm.
term. Like it couldn't be a headline that we see before long. And it was nice because even though I felt like I was getting to kind of cheat a little and make a diversion and talk about something different, I'm still talking about what's going on now. Even if I felt like I wasn't, it all connected. Even better than I could have planned for it to. So I'm at the point now, everything's written. It's just a matter of recording. And I mean, the last time I was on Facts on the Ground, I did 7 spoken word pieces and I had written them all in the last week or 10 days,
Oh,
something like
wow.
that.
So this is
And
unreleased
so,
stuff.
yeah. So, once I realized I get in on a roll and then I want to just keep reading and reading another one and reading another one, I kind of want to wait until I have a good chunk of time and I'm in the mood and see if I can record all 15 pieces in one night. Because I would love to be able to say, like, okay, this spoken word album was like one session. I just sat down, had a pot of coffee going, and just knocked them out, because I feel like it would
Well,
be nice
dude,
to
what
have
if
that
you
same energy throughout it.
let me throw this at you real quick and then I'm
Yeah.
really stoked to hear this, but just going off what you're saying. What if you like what if you did like just your own live stream where you just like went through a couple different
I've
sets?
looked into that. I mean, my setup right now, my audio and visual leaves a little bit to be desired, and my connection too. In the interest of net
Oh,
neutrality, I
that's
swear. Sometimes during the day, my bars even right by the modem, my connection is just abysmal, and then all of a sudden
well
in the
that's
evening,
why we
I'm back
need
up to full.
that's why we need
Um,
municipal broadband.
yeah.
That's why we need municipal broadband.
So it's definitely something I would love to do, but it's also something that working full time plus and having a toddler, it's hard enough to find time to be able to record on my own schedule. I would have a hard time right now trying to schedule like semi average streams or something. But it's definitely something I would love to be able to do. And in fact, Facts on the Ground and Krish Mohan are both talking with me about once the spoken word album is done, getting to come on and do kind of release party events where I read through the whole album in one evening, which would be super fun. So really, as soon as I can get it recorded, it's my brother's working on the artwork, who did the art for my first 2 albums. Um, and yeah, once that's done, it shouldn't be too long. I think probably in the next month or so, I'll probably have it ready to go.
All right,
Um,
Jesse, let's talk more rock.
all right, so this is a song off of Inauguration Gift, off of my last album. It's actually my pinned tweet, and this was the first thing I wrote about the Squad in any regard. And it was so nice to see the feedback I got from people that they were just as disenchanted as I was. And yeah, this was one of those reaffirming moments where it's like I'm not alone in thinking this, and that's just the most satisfying thing as a musician, to feel like people are relating, with anything you write, but especially political stuff like this, especially stuff that affects like our day to day.
Well, I give Joe Biden an A, and he has surpassed my expectations. But you do your thing.
Oh God, I could not believe that. It's like, how do you say that with a straight face? You know, it answers. I used to wonder who has the tougher time, the people that don't have to, they have to be the bad guy, your GOP, that have to be those people all the time, or the people that lie to your face and tell you they're on your side. And it's absolutely the people that have to lie to your face, the people that have to, at the end of the day, still assure the same outcome for you, but act like they're in there, fighting for you and going to bat for you. I don't know how they sleep at night. Like, I really don't. So this is hashtag squad goals. Fate demanded I be singer of a new ballad about the candidate you wanted like a finger in your fruit salad, but were made to choke down. Never mind he didn't have supporters on the ground. Never mind a website that gave volunteers the runaround, and a platform of policy that followed Biden's lead and didn't make a fucking sound. And then he takes the crown. Now that's ascension into power by immaculate election, cause no one really wanted it and no one should have trusted it. But don't you try to question it, cause Joe is not a fan of questions, but Joe is a fan of pointing fingers right in people's faces. Or if they're not in public spaces, Joe will try to point a finger everywhere I wouldn't mention. Joe's soul is molded and beholden more to power than the list of fucking speakers at the DNC convention, who gave us all a show of keeping AOC at bay, just so everyone could say they tried to censor her dissension. But if you still believe the progressives we've elected give a shit if we're protected, there's a bridge I'd like to sell you in a parallel dimension. You know they're just tech savvier with media relations, propagandist Instagram and public obfuscation. They're better suited to assure you that they're here to have a conversation. They're better suited to assure you they aren't actively supporting your eviction and your slide into starvation. Better suited to assure you they can tweet about your needs and offer hope and motivation while you drift into the weeds. But they partnered with the moccasins and gators in the reeds, and they damn sure see a portion of our meat. So, love me or leave me or mislead me to decree. Honey, you don't want to hear it, so I'll try to say it sweet. The squad are not your buddies, they are simply more discreet. The GOP will kill you on your feet. Dems and fake progressives do it in your sleep. You know, anyone could recognize a nation's needs and put it in a tweet. But coming from a leader in a seat of power really shows they know they're obsolete. Nah, GOP will kill you on your feet. Dems and fake progressives do it in your sleep. See, the squad are not your buddies, they are simply more discreet. No, the squad are not your buddies, they are simply more discreet.
It's a great tune, man. I muted myself because I was gonna like sing along, and I know there's like a bit of a lull, so I would have just fucked up here. But shut up, Ron. So I'm like, I'm just gonna mute myself. People can see me nodding along. All right, man. So you're gonna do another song and then a couple spoken word pieces.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So this song actually, I was going to do. Hang on a sec. My G string has a mind of its own.
Dude, there's always one string that always has a mind of its own. And usually it's kind of, I mean, a lot of times that's on us because we fucked up the stringing process a little bit, right?
Yep.
Like usually when it's like
nylon too, so these strings are held on with hopes and prayers.
No, I feel you. I mean, I got a new guitar and it's actually treated me good. It stays in tune a little bit better, and it just because I tuned down a good bit.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
But it gets out really easily. Like it'll just get out so easily. So I have to be so mindful of it. And but I can't sing otherwise. Like I can't sing. I don't have a good voice like you, man. I can't sing in standard tuning. You gotta be down a few steps so I can fake through it.
So this song I was going to do when I was on your show the first time, but we were talking about the Capitol riot, which had just happened, And I was looking over these lyrics and I was like, I don't want this song to be misconstrued. It's a little hot for this song. Not that a lot of my songs aren't kind of a call to action, but I didn't want something that was too call to action-y coming off of the heels of that. I've since played it on Facts on the Ground. I played it on Krish's end of month comedy show the other day, which was fantastic. He did a whole bit about Kashmir that was just incredible. I loved seeing him on with you recently too. You guys, that was a blast.
Yeah, he's on the show once a month.
Yeah. He and I actually, he's going to be near me in the fall, and we might be trying to do an actual like gig together, which would be the first time I've gotten to play any of this stuff out. So that would be exciting.
Cool, man.
But yeah, so this is off of The Virus. This is off of my first album. This is called Militia Intent.
Can keep giving us nothing and think we're bluffing about coming for your hands. Why play civil when you wouldn't listen to 100,000 dead? And now we know our mission, we form a militia, make Congress a prison. So why play civil when all these dead won't make you listen? What's more American than slaying your oppressors? What's more American than liberty or death first? God, I thought we were founded on abolishing the tyranny of those who would starve a village all to live empirically. And I regret that I have only one life to give for my cause now that I could see the cause so clearly. See, I want our leaders, regardless of party, to fear me. For I would pick my targets and assassinate them lyrically. That I would bring them out into the town square, hook them to the pillory and leave them there. And Hillary, I'll see you there. Oh, Hillary, I'll see you there. You can't keep giving us nothing and think we're bluffing about coming for your hands. Why play civil when you wouldn't listen to 250,000 dead? And now we know our mission, we form a militia, make Congress a prison. So why play civil when all these dead won't make you listen? Welcome to the fantasy of rhetoric. And welcome to the last of the free speech while we can get it. And I promise you can get it. All you corporate Democrats, second wave Confederates, GOP illusionists and neo-Nazi bureaucrats. And Stephen fucking Miller, I will see you in the aftermath. When all the laws are dust, it's just moral justice after that. And I would hunt you through the wasteland if it comes to that. Just so I could rub you in the dirt like a cheap human Brillo pad. See, I could sleep fine when our beds are burning, Stephen, but I'll turn around and run into the blaze to get my pillow back. Long as I can lay my head down, I can live with that. I could deal with a little ash. I could feel like a little of the old me burn with the bad and the rest of my past. The old world where we all lived and we can't get back. The old world where you didn't give and you'd still get back. Where you could rake in 12 billion and give none back. Those days are behind us, the virus will kill all of that. Your wealth is behind us and kindness is meant for the past. Our leaders would bind us and starve us and call it a fast. A sacrament meant for their God that they garnish in cash. And they feed it the poor by the hundreds, that's all that it asks. Its hunger is legion and people in need are all it will have. Our only chance is to starve it and watch as it turns on them. You can't keep giving us nothing and think we're bluffing about coming for your hands. Can't keep giving us nothing and think we're bluffing about coming for your hands.
Nice, man. Yeah,
General strike.
I can see how. No, totally. General strike. Yeah, no, I can see how you might have thought like, okay, at this particular time, not this song, but I think you're
and really
meaning.
that's the only, I can proudly say that's the only time I've ever self-censored, was just that it's not like I don't stand by that song in its proper context, but
Totally.
it'd be too easy to attach that to a totally different belief system, and I was just like, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna roll the dice on that one.
Yeah, I think you just made a timing judgment call, because I mean, yeah, hearing it now, I think the metaphor is very, very clear. Like I don't think there's any ambiguity there, but I could see how, in that particular moment in time, you're like, okay, this isn't the right song for this particular time. But fair enough, man.
And
It's still a great tune.
Oh, thank you, man. And the actual album version of that song, once I realized I wanted to use as many kind of like American Revolution terms and kind of metaphors as I could, I have a string instrument on GarageBand. It's actually a Japanese instrument called an eru, and it's when you put it in a major key, it has such a kind of American Revolution kind of fiddle feel to it. Like, so that's what I did, was write a lot of these kind of I don't know, early like patriotism feeling kind of melodies to go with that song, which was super fun. And props to my wife, because I was thinking of lyrics for that, and I was standing in the kitchen. I remember going like, what are those things, like the stocks that they put people in, that close the wood around your head and hands? And I looked it up and I was like, oh, pillory. I was like, that's a fun word. She goes, oh, well, Hillary, there's your rhyme. I was like, oh, there's
man,
my rhyme
the
indeed.
wife.
Have I told you lately that I love you?
Good for you, but well, good for her. That's awesome.
Yeah,
and
right?
Good for you. That's brilliant. All right, so hit me with these spoken word pieces, man.
So spoken word, okay. This is one of the first pieces, and a few of them too. It was fun to kind of play with a slightly different perspective. And this one, I wanted it to be from talking about people rationalizing and justifying what we're seeing so far out of the Biden administration, and all these moments where it's just, you would think indefensible in its comparison to Trump, or in its 180 from a promise that he made on the campaign trail, but people are finding it in them, to justify an awful lot of that. And I wanted to write from that perspective, and it was tremendously fun to do that. And I admittedly tend to kind of jump around perspective an awful lot. That's my weak spot. But I think it's pretty obvious when I slip into that, because the tone definitely shifts with it. This is called Autopilot, the Liberals' Lament. Now this might just be the last song before I'm silent. Kamikaze autopilot. An awful lot of hate in my heart and a propensity for kindness. Adrift in an ocean of centrists and all of the rest of the otherwise eyeless. And I know the instinct to lower one's gaze in the hope of escape is ancestral and timeless. But you need to know that the binds that detain us in no way define us. May everywhere you lay your feet be the battleground. Anywhere you keep the fight in your heart, honey, that's where the fight is. The force of our will is worth more than their might is. And the cold touch of steel is worth more than the touch of the Midas. And they could dig canyons or craters or gulfs, but they cannot divide us. We are the poor and the huddled, forever denied until forced into violence. But quell your excitement. The dark mass of clouds seen amassing for war on your placid horizon are born of the toxins of white men, who see themselves more as the gods moving mountains and speaking in lightning than actual human devices. Manifest destiny, narcissist energy, war pigs in crisis. And endlessly, each will keep funding their own little personal ISIS. Each will keep feeding delusions of grandeur and masculine righteousness. Each will pour gas on our hopes and then strike up the match of divisiveness. And broadcast it right in our homes and our phones, and the service is free, because for them to see all of that poison take hold is elite level pricelessness. As timeless as oligarchs feeding you mindlessness. Right, this is one of those times that I suddenly wished I was sightless, as eyeless and lifeless to liberals praising our brightest defenders of Western invasion.
praising the people defending a flag that has flown over craters of peaceful and sovereign nations bombed off the face of creation. All to spread something that we call democracy, mockingly, probably. Honestly, we came to starve out your colonies, clear out your properties, claim your resources, and set up a government covered in puppet string, tied to our global agenda and ripe for the summoning. This is how we keep policing the desperate, knowing we foster their suffering. This is the mark of the beast of America. Pull yourself out of the gutter by only the straps of your debt, sharpen your hustle, and build you some character. Break down your body to enter the lottery. Set your sights right on the luxe, comfy life of a senator, something that's really worth coveting. Because down in the streets, it's a storefront morgue. The sheets are boards and they reek through the coverings. I'm not saying the sky is falling. I'm screaming the heavens are plummeting. Came for the catalyst, stayed for the dread and that hideous trumpeting. Came for a glimpse of the spirit of war, covered in gore and speaking in gluttonies. A chorus at once both familiar and otherly, shatter my solace while soothing me, motherly, mindlessly touched I'm a hyacinth, crumbling under the dirt to the earth, to the worst of discoveries. I came for the cavernous, hideous trumpeting, stayed until I didn't mind, and then stayed until I found it comforting. I stayed till the gore was a medal of valor, and all of the war crimes were human and humbling. I stayed until I was defending the caging of children and calling dementia stuttering. Stayed until I was a big fan of access and cautiously skeptic when asked if our healthcare was something our government ought to be covering. Until I was completely complicit in whitewashing immigrant sterilization, refugee separations. I stayed until I swore that I saw justice in all of this bigoted bludgeoning, not just eugenics parading as something communal in service and properly functioning. Not just eugenics you passively swallow like Xanax when pitched by your favorite brands and your most trusted companies. Not us insisting that progress is Congress collectively stumbling. Not just the Democrats holding the Senate, the House, and the ball and intentionally fumbling. Not just our leadership throwing the fight when it's not their lives on the line, it's our kids on the mat and they're taking a pummeling. Because the hearts of the greedy weep not for the needy, they just pump funds for their own refunneling. They burrow in their wealth like a corpse worm tunneling. Stomach full of money, but they'll never see the sun again. It's really kind of funny when you think about it. Then again, it's really so abhorrent, I'm on stun again. Mouth agape, my eyes glaze. The drool is positively puddling. The taste of dirt is fresh and newly earthen on my tongue again. And I'm running through a meadow from the truth of who I voted for. And God, the sun is shining, but the thunderstorms are rumbling. Built back better, didn't stay to see it tumbling. That's autobiography.
Wow. That's powerful stuff, man. All right, so you got two more?
I got one more.
Yeah. One more. Okay, cool. All right, I'm just gonna do it to it, man. Do the last one, and then we'll sign off together.
And this one's actually a little bit longer. I'll apologize. This one is really the cornerstone of this spoken word album because it I mentioned in one piece a plant that I referred to as Amazon vine, and it being some sort of like hybrid plant that has like Wi-Fi capabilities, and it's just a cute little addition to your home, kind of a biosynthetic Alexa plant, kind of. And once I started playing with the idea of like plants made by Amazon or Tesla, I started kind of tying in just a few different like. That's where the sci-fi started to kind of come in, all these elements of the things that you'll accept into your home and into your everyday life and not question what they do or whether they have some kind of malign purpose.
Amazon Ring, man.
Yeah, right.
Amazon Ring. I mean, it's like, yeah.
And I had mentioned hyacinth in that last piece, and that kind of steamrolled into this, which is, again, really sets up an awful lot of this whole thing. You hear so many people talking about calling and writing your elected officials, and it would be nice to think that some massive letter writing campaign is all it would take anymore, that enough public outcry on something can do the trick, and sometimes it can. But I also think of it as, if you don't, is that not just kind of by default giving your permission, giving your approval of whatever they're doing? And the line just kept sticking in my head of, you don't call, you don't write,
And that was that's what steamrolled this piece. Originally was going to be a song, and I intended it for it to be short. And suddenly I looked up and I had this massive spoken word piece on my hands. So again, this is really the best idea of what the spoken word album is going to be.
Right on, man.
Hyacinth. What
Awesome.
more you have to give? You don't call, don't write. How is that not to imply that you think what I'm doing must be right? Think that I'm doing all right, and you don't mind giving up your rights. Don't mind seeing your leaders aligned with the violent right. Don't mind carrying water to pour on the altar where we plan to sacrifice all of your pensions in one of our nameless imperial rights that renders the rioters silent and pries every rhyme by its root in their heads, that quiets the storm by denying them platforms to buy up some time for the task force crafting a law to detain them and mace them if they try to ask for their water and bread. Mind you, the bread looks like moss off a boulder from all of the mold, and the water is rusted and red. Bitter as all of the blood you hear pounding when you try to block out the sounds as you're lying in bed. Mind you, the bed is a spot on the floor and there's really no more to be said. You don't call, you don't write. If you knew better, there'd be mountains of letters outside, stacked to the sky, blocking the sun out and blocking my drive. You would slow the flow of my campaign funds down, my reputation in the ground by sundown. Good thing I got MSNBC on my PR rundown. To put you at ease, maybe give you a nice little neolib rubdown, and blare my redemption from Breitbart to Cumtown, to flood all your free speech channels with a bunch of raw shit and shut the pumps down. Then usher out a couple dozen sock accounts to pop up in your mentions with their toxins stocked and talons out, here to help defend a man's dementia with the passions of a talent scout, selling you their bullshit while they're drooling half a gallon down the hat. They'll pull a rabbit out. And verbally, they'll strap you down, slap you with a finely crafted soundbite from the squad you could try to feed your family with and play back for the officers arriving to evict you in the hopes that they won't snatch you out. But big surprise, their clubs are out and masks are down, impolitely asking you to pack a little faster now, just to please the bastard with the fascist hats and badge that makes him think he's someone actually of matter, not an actor playing overseer at the sick behest of benefactors who would starve as many families as it takes to make their profits fatter. And when they tell those loyal cops their kids are on the chopping block to sate their daily greed or need to satisfy their hungry stocks, statistically, 2/5 of these are all too pleased because it just means that they could beat their spouses without all those little weak attempts to make them stop. I was watching TV screaming, make it stop. Screaming at the cable feed of double talk. Screaming at the daily razor shaving down our labor laws. And screaming at the left like they can wave a wand and change it all. Screaming at the leaders we gave time and trust and money to who played us all. We the people, tattered rags and paper dolls. Screaming at our debt and at the overfed pigs who created all. Trying to teach the ways of the world to my son like I don't hate it all. Stone soup, cops came and ate it all. Water for the homeless, cops are gonna break them all. Education budget, cops are gonna take it all. Send your kids to prison, think about the time you'll save us all. Years later, you'll be lucky if you're paid at all. Years later, you'll be wired to a grid that turns your brain's electric current to a resource they can strip, and we'll all be mining Bitcoin 80 hours at a clip. Too tired for the drive home. It ain't worth the trip because it hurts to be reminded that you never see your kid. And every time they fire up the hub and plug you in, their memory recedes a little further till it blurs into the dim. Until you can't recall your kin. You open up your eyes and you see Tesla on your skin. Earn a dime a day and owe them 20 for the mandatory membership to Tesla Gym, where we're all one big happy family who neutralized your family at the gates when they tried to sneak a message in, and who taunts you with escape in their advertising messaging, taunts you with the sounds of a child at play, a warm summer day, the things we can all sense slipping away because their frequency is lessening. You are working for a living in which you are only visiting, working under safety laws that profit ends up pivoting, shifting into figures in which losing you is just the cost of maximizing profit in the world that we do business in. The world in which we fight to see the bright side but always get the business end. And I've been here in wait since late '08 to witness this descent, to suck my soul away in little bits, a dime a day but with a monthly cap of 50 cents.
Because Tesla-funded studies show that overpaid employees don't know what to do with all the extra money because they're lazy and they're ignorant. But all the extra capital keeps innovation radical, so you can say that you were part of history in the making in the unacknowledged, patronizing, strictly honorary sense. We understand you may resent that Mr. Musk was heaven sent to take you on his back for his divine ascent, but then just before he reached the palace gates above the firmament, he dropped you on the outer steps a month before retirement. Again, may we refer you to suggested ways of demonstrating gratitude for Mr. Musk that he was kind enough to let you feed his great Leviathan. Tesla-funded studies show that you amount to nothing in the hours you're not wired in. Hours you spend quietly denying that you let them in your head or let them walk potential buyers in. Mind you, all of this a mere month before retirement. And mind you, your retirement is waiting in the dirt that feeds the hyacinth. Or maybe, if you're lucky, you could spend another year assisting researchers in biosynth. Now, mind you, that amounts to nothing more than torture, but they wipe your memory after every session, washing out all prior sense. Think of it as Mr. Musk absolving all your prior sins. Don't think of it as skinning you and fitting you with trial limbs. Think of it as Mr. Musk presenting you the opportunity to help America's elite achieve tighter skin, fuller lips, healthy eyes, smoother lids. Don't think of it as rape. Try to think of it as Mr. Musk assigning you a mate because America needs cattle. I mean, kids. Don't ask what Mr. Musk can do for you. Ask yourself if there is something more you have to give. Ask yourself what more you have to give. Ask yourself what more you have to give. Ask yourself what more you have to give.
That's wow, dude. You got to make this album.
Yeah, I know, right?
You got to do it, man. You got to do it. This is like one of those. This project has to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, all the things I've written that I'm most proud of, and I'm not talking spoken word, I'm talking like screenplays or scripts or anything like that. It usually was just somebody else telling me this has to happen.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you, this spoken word album has to happen.
Thank you.
I've seen the preview. The movie needs to be seen.
And it's weird because it's two different mindsets. I don't know if it's the manic depressive switch or like going from the writing and creative to then a period of time where you're not doing that and you're spending time on material that's already been written. It's two completely different creative modes, and forcing that shift sometimes is tricky to like turn off the new material and polish old material. That's always where I've struggled because I can just keep writing and then I look back, I'm like, shit, I need to do something with some of this before it just like languishes away, you know?
I feel you, man. So first of all, David, thank you so much for the super chat contributions. I appreciate it very much. Thank you for the pair. You know, I love the pair. And you say, like your show, Ron. Also watch you on the Jimmy Dore Show. Thank you so much for that, David. And Adam Charlton over on the Rockfin. What's up, Rockfin? Thank you for the Rockfin tip, Adam. And you say, this is for Lucy's lunch tomorrow. Thank you for that. Lucy gets her food delivered. She's got it made. Lucy, nice. her food gets delivered once a month. Her litter gets delivered. What's the rotation there? A little more than that because the litter comes in a really big bag, so we don't need one of those a month, or we'd have like just an arsenal of litter everywhere. But yeah. But thank you for that, Adam. Thank you, David. Jesse, where can people go to find the music you already have released and to learn more about you?
Twitter is really the best place. It's Jesse_Jett, Jett. My stuff is on YouTube, Spotify. If you want to be able to support me, Bandcamp is the best place to do that. They've been fantastic. I have both political albums as well as kind of a 50s doo-wop little side project up on there. And then as well, if anybody wants a copy of one of the albums and money is an obstacle, please message me on Twitter. Bandcamp gives me like free download codes. And the most important thing for me is having the music heard. So if somebody wants a copy, just give me a message and you got one.
That's really cool, man. So everyone go do that. Jesse Jett over on Bandcamp, Jesse_Jett on Twitter. Dude, thanks so much. I love having you. It's always a blast to have you. Can't wait to have you again. Dude, thanks so much for doing this. Thanks for getting your news on with me. Check it out, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same channel, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. And in the meantime, you know the drill. Oh, wait, I got to do I got to do that thing where I'll do it. I'll start it tomorrow. I'm going to start giving people's pets shout outs from the Twitter thread I
Nice.
started where people are sharing their pet info. I meant to do that today. I'll do it tomorrow because I stopped the share screen here. But do you have any pets, Jesse?
I do. I have 2 cats.
What are their names?
One is Chief Brody. My wife's a huge fan of Jaws.
All right.
The other is Fidel Castro.
All right. So Chief Brody and
He's
Fidel Castro, they say
Castro.
meow, and Lucy says meow, and I say peace, and Jesse says peace. And we'll see you next time. Peace, everybody.